If you're lecturing me, you must be rather competent at your job, right? I want to watch you speak with this old man on the phone. He's French, by the way. I had recently been rehired as a part-time employee after retiring. Taking directions from someone like me appears to make him unhappy. I was asked to bargain in French by Ryan, the recent hire who takes great pride in his Harvard degree. Go ahead and speak with him, old man. I thought you were being arrogant, didn't you? What's wrong? I will speak. Oh. I got a slight shove on the shoulder from Ryan. I was getting really irritated. Is that correct? I inhaled deeply before picking up the phone. Ryan's face went white when he saw what I did. William is my name. After years of arduous labor, I recently retired this year at the age of 65. During my retirement farewell tour, I was requested to stay with the company on several occasions. I was pleased that my efforts had been acknowledged. I therefore made the decision to rejoin a sizable, reputable trading organization where I had ties after talking it over with my wife. I was anxious to demonstrate that I still had what it took, since I never imagined that I would be able to find another work at 65. But my wife and I had also organized a trip overseas. You know, you don't need to exert yourself too much. You truly enjoy what you do, don't you? What are you discussing? Of course, I value you more than my job. However, if you wanted to, are you certain you could still work a full-time job? No, everything is all right. I've already put forth enough effort. Let the younger generation take the initiative. My wife was aware of my enthusiasm for my work and how much I genuinely enjoyed it. But I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to travel with you. Since our honeymoon, this would be our first time traveling alone. In order to have a flexible schedule, I asked to be employed as a part-time employee during my interview. William, we would be overjoyed to have you, they added. The business was more than willing to comply with my request. I was lucky enough to begin working part-time at this new company because they promised to modify my schedule as needed. The task was made easier by the fact that I knew a few faces from past interactions. Naturally, I had a lot of new information to learn, but I quickly caught up by using my experience to make up for my advanced age. People around me valued my hard work, just as they did before I retired. As expected, William, you're incredibly fast. I'm getting older, though. I used to learn things much more quickly in the past. Ask me anything if you don't understand. I'm also becoming rather proficient at this profession. The familiar staff welcomed me even though, in terms of my start date, I was officially the junior. Given my prior work expertise, a few of them even approached me with inquiries when they were stuck. I didn't hesitate to communicate what I knew. It was satisfying to know that my experience may still benefit others, despite the fact that I am now an elderly man. Work is a lot of fun. I'm happy to have found employment in this field once more. I was leading a really happy life. Following a month-long training program, it was time for the new hires to be assigned to their departments. Of course, there was also a new hire in our department. In the midst of the office, we were all called together. This time of year is upon us once more. Please assist the new member who is joining us if they require assistance. The new employee was urged to introduce themselves by the department supervisor, who pushed them ahead. In front of everyone, the newcomer took a stand. He had a smart suit and was fairly attractive. He parted his lips to say something. Hey, does he use English? Incredulously, everyone in the department cocked their heads. Suddenly, the new guy was speaking in English, although it was difficult to understand what he was saying. I apologize for it. I've spent a lot of time at Harvard. Anyway, it's good to meet everyone. Ryan is my name. I'm excited to collaborate with you. Ryan, the newcomer, lowered his head. Everyone cheered courteously, even though they were surprised that he was speaking English. Ryan smiled smugly, seeming as though he mistook their shocked looks. I apologize for that. Sometimes I just forget to speak English because I'm so accustomed to it. When I was a Harvard student, 5 more minutes of Ryan talking about himself. He made sure everyone knew how outstanding his English was by mentioning multiple times that he was a Harvard graduate. So, yeah, it's time to return to work. Let's conclude with the introductions. All right, Ryan, I'm excited to work with you. Thank you, indeed. I'm excited to collaborate with you as well. The boss, Mark, interrupted him and told everyone to return to work. Ryan smiled brightly in response. Since then, Ryan has been a constant topic of discussion in the department. He tried to use English in his conversations every day. Although his excitement was valued, it got to the point where people had to put their job on hold in order to deal with him, which left them grinning awkwardly. As we collaborated, we discovered that Ryan's supposedly fluent English was actually very difficult to comprehend. Ryan would remark, "Well, it just comes out naturally because I only spoke English while I was at Harvard." However, his English was hard to understand, even for native English speakers, and at times we couldn't understand a word he was saying. But he boasted so much that nobody was willing to tell him it out loud. We simply nodded in agreement to continue the conversation even when we couldn't understand what he was saying. Then Ryan came up to me one day. He posed a question, but I tilted my head in perplexity, unable to understand what he was saying. "Could you say that again?" I said. Ryan spoke again, but his unintelligible pace and pronunciation made it impossible to follow. "School" was the only word I could make out. I chose to ask him for a favor, though, because I didn't think I could understand even if he repeated it in English. "Would you mind saying it in Japanese?" Ryan clicked his tongue irritably at my attempt at a courteous grin. "Hey, you're not understanding." "English? Why does this guy working here when he doesn't even speak English? Everyone working for this company is expected to speak English fluently." Ryan's tone was obviously sarcastic, At that moment, nobody else was present. Ryan gave me a quick smack on the shoulder, knowing this. "Hi, elderly gentleman. I wanted to know where you attended college. English is taught even in Japanese universities, correct?" "Actually, though, I didn't attend college. I only received my middle school diploma." "How come?" "In middle school, you're not telling the truth. How did you join this organization?" Ryan started laughing so hard that tears started to form in his eyes. "Oh, hurry up. Really? Is this business so in need of employees that it is employing an elderly man who has only completed middle school and is unable to communicate in English? Oh, I see. I take that you were employed as a janitor." Ryan strolled past me, laughing as though he had no more use for me. Ryan's attitude toward me had a significant change after that day. As we passed each other, he would murmur something in English and snicker behind my back. His tone made it obvious that he was making fun of me, even though I was still unable to grasp his English. His conduct began to worsen once he somehow discovered out I was working part-time. However, throughout my many years of employment, I had already met numerous people who were similar to Ryan. I kept a mature demeanor and tried not to let it get to me too much. He will most likely become bored and quit eventually, so long as it doesn't interfere with my work. In light of that, I carried on enjoying my job as normal, and, when returning home, spending time with my wife. Even if Ryan's presence made things a little more difficult, I was still leading a happy life. William said, "Oh, David, what's up?" A few days later, "I want you to take care of things. Will you look at this for me?" I was given some paperwork by the department manager, David. Looking through them, I saw that they were regarding a contract with St. Corporation, a big American firm. With locations across the world, St. Corporation is among the biggest corporations in the world. I was well acquainted with them. I figured you'd be the best guy for this because they have so many branches. Are you certain that giving someone who works part-time such a large job is acceptable? Oh, William, hurry up. I have faith in you. Oh, Ryan, by the way. David called out to Ryan, "Hey, Ryan." Ryan answered right away but he scowled a little when he saw me. As David went on, "What is it, David?" His scowl changed to one of perplexity and rage. "Ryan, you'll be helping William because you speak English well. Learn from him and observe his methods." "How come? Am I meant to help William?" "As a helper. Yes, keep an eye out since I may give you similar assignments in the future. I'm depending on you, William." I got it. David left the department with a smile on his face. To make copies of the documents, I went to the printer. I heard Ryan complaining behind me. Why must I? Why is this elderly man involved? It was impossible for me not to sigh deeply. I turned to Ryan and scolded him calmly but firmly, looking him in the eye. Work is work, whether you like it or not. Together, let's accomplish this. You may be given this on your own one day, as David mentioned, so listen carefully. The documents are here. I'll go reserve a conference room because we're about to begin our meeting. Hold on there. Ryan appeared unhappy. He took the copies from me without a word, and I left to make the lodging reservation. I went to the archives to locate more items after securing the space and messaging Ryan. Ryan had already left when I brought the paperwork back to the department. My coworkers claimed that he had already made his way to the meeting room. I also picked up my laptop and went inside the room. "You're running late. I've been holding out." As soon as I opened the door, Ryan mumbled. I became irritated since his tone was very different from when David was present. He was still young, though, and I told myself that he must have been quite frustrated with me. I handed Ryan the extra documents and opened my laptop on the desk. I wanted to know more details. Since we're working with a big business, the typical Japanese techniques might not be effective. Getting as much information as you can is crucial. Document research is essential. I gave the materials to him. These and these are here. Be sure to read them through. He grabbed the papers out of my grasp and nearly pulled them out. Why must I help this elderly man? He's not even fluent in English. Are you even familiar with that laptop? Do you want me to demonstrate keyboard usage for you? I'm perfectly capable of using it. I made every effort to suppress my annoyance by clenching and squeezing my fist tightly. Since he's still young, it was unavoidable. He will inevitably make mistakes at work as well, and rebellion is to be expected. I thought Ryan would work hard this time around because I had saw him approach his work with a serious mindset in the past. All that mattered was that he could successfully finish this large assignment. In light of that, I forced myself not to get upset at what Ryan had said. We began talking about how to move forward with the discussions based on the information we had once he had completed reading the documents. We should concentrate on promoting this since this company is excellent in this field and they appear to be searching for it at the moment. No, this is superior. I would do it this way if it were up to me. However, that strategy might lead to issues that haven't even arisen yet. Furthermore, there wouldn't be much of a loss. All right? What topic are you discussing? The other business might sustain large losses even if ours are little. Thus, we ought to. Are you serious? That would just result in less profit and needless labor. Ryan resisted all of my recommendations. During our conversation, he never once nodded in agreement. I listened to his thoughts, trying to remain composed, because I thought he could have a better suggestion. However, all of his recommendations were flawed. His suggestions were all aimed at increasing our business's earnings without taking the rival company's response into account. Nothing was determined for a while, and Ryan grew more and more angry at me for not supporting his ideas. What a horrible plan. The old man with little education really has no use for anything he thinks about. You're such a moron. You still have me as your senior. Don't use such language while we're working, but you only work part-time, right? Is a part-time employee considered a senior? Being part-time doesn't matter at this moment because I work full-time. Do things right because it's the job. Yeah. As we prepared the documentation to present to David, we proceeded to type up the strategy on the computer. Ryan decided to enter in his own name when I got to the part about the person who would be handling the negotiations, the person in charge of calls. You don't speak English, do you, William? Let me do it. In contrast to someone who has only completed middle school, I have actual international experience. His smile was smug as he typed. Without first talking to me, he even began adding elements that hadn't been decided upon yet. Something inside of me snapped. Enough. A job is not a game. Ryan flinched at my abrupt yell, but he got to his feet and attempted to overtake me. You should take a step back. This type of task shouldn't even be left to you, an old man with no education. It's pitiful how David grovels to you, and you're just an old man with nothing to offer but your age. In the warehouse, someone like you ought to be cooped up in the back sorting papers. Instead, why don't you go do that? I got up too after Ryan's tirade. You should know better than to use such language in a business setting. I'm still your senior. How does hearing such derogatory remarks affect your coworkers, in your opinion? Ryan was shocked by my loud voice. He seemed really astonished because I didn't often raise my voice. I didn't care, though. You haven't even thoroughly examined these materials, I said, gesturing to the papers arranged on the table. You have no knowledge of the other business. You haven't even bothered to ask me any questions or conduct any investigation. Knowing your negotiating partner is the fundamental rule of this work. Have you not even been taught the fundamentals? Ryan slammed his laptop closed, his face flushed. Then he stormed out of the conference room, grabbing his laptop. He clicked his tongue loudly as he walked away. Why don't you simply do all the dirty labor yourself, old man, if that's how you're going to be? As a part-time worker, you should only do the essentials. Wait. When I called for him, Ryan continued to walk and vanished into thin air. I watched him disappear behind the door, and then I calmed down. I sat down by myself in the now quiet conference room and took a big breath. Given the intensity of our dispute, I assumed Ryan wouldn't report to work the following day. Perhaps I ought to have handled it more composedly. As I made my way to work that morning, I experienced a slight sense of regret and loneliness. But as soon as I got there, Ryan walked right over to me with a somewhat arrogant expression. William, good morning. Whoa, you've already changed your perspective. That's really amazing. I was so amazed by Ryan's speedy recuperation that I also gave him a warm greeting. Oh, good morning, Ryan. About yesterday. I started, but Ryan interrupted and gave me a piece of paper. I looked at him curiously as I accepted it. I've completed the task already. I'm fast at this stuff, unlike a part-timer. What is this? We were working on the report yesterday. Don't tell me you've already forgotten. It was the document that we had collaborated on. You've already completed the report in spite of our differences. Well, at least you didn't include any of the details we hadn't finalized. I began reading the document with relief, but something didn't feel right. Upon arriving at the portion containing the financial data, I verified the numbers 1, 2, and 3 times. As I frantically reviewed the numbers, Ryan erupted in laughter and clutched his stomach. Are you criticizing the document because it was created by a novice? A Harvard graduate like me would never make a mistake. In addition, I've already forwarded it. You sent it to the client. Obviously. Remember that I work quickly. I was taken aback by what Ryan said. After yesterday, I was determined not to raise my voice, but I couldn't resist shouting. Hey, this sum is incorrect. This might cost our business $1 million if it succeeds. What? My voice reverberated throughout the department, and then, as if to heighten the tension, a phone rang. When the internal line buzzed, I responded right away. This is William from the Department of Foreign Sales. Hi there. Is Ryan present? The French chapter of St. Corporation has called for him. It was Ryan's call. He grabbed the phone out of my grasp and requested to connect. I watched Ryan nervously as the connection to the French branch was connected and I was unable to hear the other person's voice. Ryan started talking on the phone in English. His statements seemed to be repeated repeatedly, but then he abruptly shifted to hesitating in French. It appeared that his English was not understood by the other side. A loud voice on the other end of the line was heard while I watched in increasing alarm, and then the phone was abruptly cut off. Slowly lowering the receiver, Ryan stood stunned. I gave his shoulder a light tap. What did they say? Ryan's expression contorted in rage as soon as I asked, and he smacked my hand away. Avoid playing tricks on me. Old man, you're to blame. This wouldn't have occurred if you had simply completed everything and submitted the paperwork yesterday. I took a deep breath instinctively as he spoke, but this time I was able to maintain my composure. Avoid blaming others. This was the result of your careless behavior. Tell me what they said, please. Stop talking. I'm still getting used to it. You didn't understand, did you? Stop talking. Despite my limited knowledge of French, I was able to understand the words. I tried to stabilize Ryan by putting a soothing touch on his shoulder. Slow down. Make sure to take notes the next time you speak with them on the phone, and let me explain anything you don't understand. Acknowledging your ignorance is a crucial aspect of becoming a professional. Then you do it, old man. Ryan interrupted me because he was so frustrated. You ignorant fool, you dare not boss me around. Just perform your work and stop wasting time with your useless advice. He chuckled at me and gestured toward the phone. It was a scornful, mocking chuckle. Go ahead, give it a shot. You believe you're really intelligent, don't you? Mr. Middle School Education, let's see what you can do. The individual on the other end speaks French, by the way. Like a razor, Ryan's comments became more and more piercing, but there was no time for this. We had to get to work. We were running out of time, so I took a quick look at the clock. I grudgingly hit the button to dial the number again. On our end, the phone rang. This is Street Corporation's French branch. Hi, this is Japan's inspirational operator. Please let me talk to your representative. Yes, of course. Just a minute. I turned to look at Ryan. He was staring at me with wide eyes and a slightly open lips. The fact that I could speak French obviously surprised him. Hey, this is not how we can communicate. You also speak French well. I sincerely regret what I did previously. I'll be answering the phone. My name is William. Oh, at last. Someone who comprehends me. Fantastic. I had an urgent matter to discuss, so I contacted. It has to do with the papers you sent this morning. I offered my heartfelt apologies and explained the mistakes in the paperwork. I promised to quickly prepare new, updated documents and deliver them again. Luckily, we were able to avoid any major repercussions because the financial statistics had not yet been finalized and it was still in the review stage. I was relieved, so I thanked the agent and hung up. Woo! We were fortunate to catch it in time. I looked straight at Ryan. You know, they said they couldn't understand a word of your French. So, what if you can speak French? Ryan was ready to respond when the internal phone rang once again. Startled, Ryan leaped. Beep. I apologize, but there are a lot of calls coming in. In addition to the Italian and Spanish branches, there is one from Street Corporation's Chinese branch. Ryan's face went white. I looked at him and realized right once that Ryan probably only spoke English. I hurriedly grabbed the phone and requested that the operator connect me to each branch one at a time. Hello, this is William speaking. I started using Chinese to communicate with the individual on the other end. No time to see how Ryan would respond. I answered calls in a variety of languages, including Spanish, Italian, and Chinese. It had been a long time by the time I was done. I was relieved that the last call was over and took a deep breath. I took a seat and quickly copied my call notes into my notepad. Before I forgot, I had to let the appropriate departments know the specifics. Could you please recalculate the numbers on the docs you created, Ryan? Let's promptly fix them and send them to the branches again. Yes. When I saw Ryan's feeble reaction, I turned to face him. His expression was lifeless, displaying the remorse and annoyance of making a mistake while typing on his computer. Without looking at me, Ryan posed a question to me. How many languages can you speak? About 10. I wrote back. There were people from those regions in my previous job, so once I explained the situation, they understood immediately, and the calls went smoothly. It appears that we can resolve any issue. We truly escaped a bullet. But if it's in English, I cooled. In an attempt to defend himself, Ryan stumbled. In the hopes that it would finally reach him, I couldn't resist sharing what I had heard. You're a really arrogant guy, according to Michael from the American branch. You work quickly, but you make a lot of mistakes, he said. Additionally, he asserted that proficiency in English does not equate to excellence. What? Additionally, it's really difficult to understand your English. I found it difficult to follow, and Michael admitted that he had trouble understanding you at points. To prevent interfering with the work, he intends to urge David to let me handle your responsibilities until you are able to communicate more effectively. To be honest, you've merely made my plate bigger. After saying this, Ryan had a deceived look on his face when I turned to face him. He had never before been made aware of this, it appeared. I stopped working and looked straight at Ryan. Although language serves as a tool for communication, the motivation behind it is what counts most. Communication should come naturally. There's no use showing it off. English proficiency alone did not earn you a Harvard degree. All right. You were able to achieve more because you put a lot of effort into your studies and learned how to use English. In an attempt to uplift Ryan, I gave him a gentle pat on the back. When I was younger, I also made a lot of errors. Despite the fact that I barely completed middle school, I was frequently made fun of for it. I'm here now because I put in a lot of work and conquered those obstacles. Now, Ryan, it's acceptable to make mistakes because you're still young. Just be careful not to do them again. Ryan had been shouting, but now he was silent. He seemed to think about what I had said as he looked down. He finally gave a silent nod of agreement. I returned to my work satisfied. Okay, let's resume our job. Don't worry, we've made it this far. Let's continue and get the job done, shall we? Ryan answered quietly. After that, there were no more disagreements between us, and the work proceeded without incident. It was finally the conclusion of the workday. The sky outside the window was completely dark. Usually, I would begin packing things with a feeling of achievement, but today I had another destination to go with Ryan. We knocked on the door in front of us, both of us feeling anxious. The door was marked with the words, President's Office. Knock, knock. Enter. It's William and Ryan. Ah, enter. We apologize. We opened the president's office door together. Our president, Mr. Anderson, was inside, his face grim with rage. Today's error was the topic of this meeting. Although it had been a tight call, we had barely avoided suffering a significant loss. I told Mr. Anderson what was going on right away. What were you thinking, Ryan? Mr. Anderson reprimanded Ryan while he was still upright. If he had previously appeared pale, he was now almost ghostly white. He looked like a walking corpse, his face devoid of any color. It's likely that he was mentally projecting the worst scenario. He tightened his fists, bowed his head desperately, and fought back tears. I also bowed deeply to Mr. Anderson as I stood next to him. The president stopped reprimanding. I'm really sorry, Mr. Anderson. Ryan made a hasty decision, but I too have some responsibility. I didn't fulfill my obligation to properly advise him. I shall now approach my work with a fresh sense of diligence. I continually lowered my head in contrition. When he saw how sincere I was, Mr. Anderson let out a long, tortured sigh and leaned back in his chair. I'll overlook this because of William. However, Ryan, if you make another error like this, You should be ready to quit the company." Ryan glanced up at Mr. Anderson, who gave him a serious nod. "Ungrateful. I'll take great effort to avoid making any additional errors." "William, thank you so much for it. You two must be worn out now. Leave for home today, and starting tomorrow, let's keep up the good effort." "Yes, I'm grateful. Thank you, and enjoy your evening." We bowed once more and slipped out of the president's office. Ryan turned to me and bowed deeply as soon as we were outside. "Thank you, William. Thank you so much." He appeared to be a different person. His attitude had entirely altered. Ryan seems to have been reborn. As I was about to go, I waved my hand dismissively, but before I could say anything more, Ryan, full of fresh resolve, bowed at the waist in a respectful gesture. "Let me learn from you, William, please. In this work, I wish to watch and absorb your example. Tell me everything you know, please. I genuinely ask you to do this." I felt valued after hearing what he had to say, and I couldn't help but smile while I scratched my cheek. "Just be sure to observe and take notes, okay?" Ryan was somewhat more modest after that. He seemed like a totally different person. He completely ceased boasting and started paying close attention to what other people had to say. He promptly sought guidance when issues emerged. Our big project went off without a hitch and without any more errors. Working closely with him, I saw that he had a keen mind thanks to his Harvard degree. He was incredibly competent, learning new abilities fast and using them successfully. He was a man of extraordinary talent. Even his English problems, which I had observed, greatly improved when I pointed them out. Ryan took the criticism seriously and put a lot of effort into fixing his errors, which greatly improved the readability of his English. Although it might be challenging to change deeply rooted language and habits, Ryan made the effort to practice consistently. To gauge his progress, I had to attempt to call our American contact, Michael. Michael felt a great sense of admiration. He gave Ryan his complete support, saying, "Now I can trust him with this." My workload started to lessen as a result, and I now have more time in my schedule because I can take time off anytime I choose. I still work, but I now love taking trips overseas with my wife. Everyone has made mistakes. Nobody has ever succeeded without failing at some point. But the most important thing is what you do when you make a mistake. I've come to think that as long as you keep striving to improve, it's acceptable to fail frequently. At my age, I've learned again that it's more essential to learn from your mistakes and move on rather than to hide them.